yo, Farmer Dre back at it. It's another cold day here in Missouri. It was in the mid-20s when I woke up this morning, and it's fairly chilly, so it's too cold to make a video outside. So I was like, you know what? Let me just come in here in the office and film a video for you guys today. But today I'm going to share with you guys some of the things I learned about growing tomatoes in 2021 and what I'm going to be doing different in 2022. So tomatoes are a big part of our operation even to this day. We do grow a lot of tomatoes, we pick a lot of tomatoes, and we sell a lot of tomatoes. And all the tomatoes we sell are at a retail price, farmers markets here in our farm store. And a couple months ago, someone asked me if we do wholesale any tomatoes, and the question is no for us here on our farm. Just kind of share why we don't wholesale any tomatoes or any fruit for that matter. The reason we don't sell any fruit because it's really not worth the time and energy for us. So what happened and what I've experienced firsthand is, let's say a restaurant wants to order tomatoes from you, and they say, okay, I'm going to order 10 boxes a week. So fine, whatever, 10 boxes a week is okay. You start delivering. 2-3 months later, they realize they can't get rid of that many tomatoes, and they only start ordering a box or half a box. And of course, they want that wholesale price where I could go to a farmer's market and sell 10, 15, 20 boxes in the matter of minutes or hours. And you just got to count, what's worth your time. That's one thing I realized here on our farm is, if I had to deliver to a restaurant and it's only one box at a wholesale price, I might as well just go to farmer's market, get a full retail price out of them, and sell a whole lot more, because at farmer's market, customers go there to buy tomatoes. So it's one of those deals where you got to figure out for yourself. But for here on our farm, all our tomatoes are retail, and mainly through farmer's market and here in our farm store. But in the past couple years, we've been focusing more on the U-pick side of our operation and building that up. So whenever we have the U-pick events going on, we get a lot of foot traffic through our farm store, and a lot of people coming out to the farm store to pick fruit. And we started realizing there's more and more people coming to the farm store instead of going to the farmer's market. So we've been selling a whole lot more tomatoes to our farm store, and that's one of those growing pains you got to figure out is, are you going to continue going to farmer's market? Do you want to do the U-pick side? So just one of those deals. But in 2022, we definitely will be going to farmer's markets. And whenever we first started, the first couple years we started farmer's markets, we were doing up to 10 farmer's markets a week. And like this past season, we were doing 6 farmers markets. So we're slowly cutting out of farmers markets and focusing on all the events and stuff going on here on our farm. How does that affect our tomato sales? The U-pick operation is slowly starting to decline our tomato sales and production, just because whenever we're doing the U-pick events, customers come out to our farm to pick fruit, and yes, they might grab 5, 6, 10 tomatoes, but whenever you're going to farmer's market, you pile the tomatoes high, and customers just go to your booth at farmer's market just for tomatoes or for whatever other products you have. So we realized this past season we did sell a lot of tomatoes. This was probably one of my best years of growing tomatoes. I did grow a lot of tomatoes, and that's a video for another time. But we started realizing that we don't need that many more tomatoes. At a point in time, I was saying, this is way back whenever I didn't know any better, I said I wanted 15 high tunnels of tomatoes, and we're getting to that point now that we might, 4 to 5 high tunnels would probably be our cap of growing tomatoes here on our farm. And that's why we're not growing that many more field tomatoes anymore. We're probably not ever going to grow field tomatoes again. And just certain crops that aren't worth our while because our U-pick side of the farm has been growing. Enough of that. Let's go ahead and talk tomatoes 2021, what I've learned and what I'm going to be doing different for next year. So the biggest thing I learned this year is I'm only going to stick to Red Deuce and Carolina Gold tomatoes. I'm pretty sure I'm done trying out different varieties. As you guys know, I tried the Big Dinas, I tried some BHN 589, but I'm just gonna stick to Red Deuce. They're one of the best tomatoes that I have ever grown, easy to grow, and the great results we see here on our farm with the Red Deuce. And I'm just tired of trying different varieties and them not working out for us. And it's one of those deals that over the years we're like, I'm just done. Let me just stick to the varieties I do know, and then you will figure out that it's probably going to be the best variety for you. So next year, I'm only going to be growing Red Deuce and Carolina Golds. For us on our farm, they're the best tomatoes you can grow. And like I said, it's just one of those deals. It's consistent, great quality, great flavor. They're pretty disease resistant. And it's one of those deals where, like, you know what, I'm just done trying other varieties. I'm just going to stick to what I'm good at doing, and that's it. And another thing I learned, and it also goes with the same varieties, is only determinate tomato varieties. The bush type tomatoes, which Red Deuce and Carolina Golds are, they're just easier to grow, easier to manage. They're just an easier overall tomato. They're just a grower-friendly tomato plant. If you have the time and energy to stake and prune your indeterminates, like your Big Dinas, Big Beefs, I say go for it. I've seen research that shows that indeterminates long-term do produce more tomatoes. The long growing seasons like down south, Mississippi, Georgia, some of their tomato greenhouses are producing about 100 pounds of tomatoes per plant, but those operations are just focusing on tomatoes. But for here on our farm, like I mentioned, the U-pick side is really taking off for us, so I cannot be focusing all my time and energy on tomatoes. So those Red Deuce is a good variety where I can go ahead and produce a good 25 to 30 pounds per plant. Just easy to manage, easy to grow, pretty disease resistant. And if I stay on top of the insects and the mites, we should have a good crop pretty much every single year. So kind of a shameless plug, if you guys want Red Deuce and Carolina Gold tomatoes, go ahead and check the link down in the description box below, or go to farmerdresupply.com and get you some farm fresh Carolina Golds and Red Deuce tomato seeds. I mentioned in my past other videos, we're done growing field tomatoes. We're no longer growing field tomatoes, so just high tunnel tomatoes on our farm, and we're just going to stick to those varieties. And one of the biggest things I learned this past season, especially with the strawberries in May, one thing I realized, and one thing we're not going to do for next year, is I don't think I'm going to start tomatoes that early anymore. So in the past few years, I've been starting tomatoes around Christmas and New Year's Day. But I think for this next season, for the 2022 season, I'm going to start my tomato seeds the middle of January. Just because I noticed that, you can plant your tomatoes as early as you want, but the production is really not going to offset, the early production is not really going to offset the time, just because we don't have enough sunshine and enough sunlight. The days are still very short, and last week of February, beginning of March. So I'm going to try transplanting the tomatoes about the middle of March, just right around the daylight savings, just so we can have a little more light. And with the price of propane now, it's going to be really hard for me to heat those really, really 2 cold weeks of March early on. So I'm going to try to see what kind of production we do get and what will happen if I do transplant 2 weeks earlier. I was actually talking to another farmer, and he says that he planted his first high tunnel tomatoes really early, the middle of February, and then he planted one a month later, which was middle of March. And the ones that he planted in the middle of March started producing about 2 weeks, 2 weeks after his first planting. So he said he pretty much wasted his time that first month early on to do that, just because there's not enough sunlight, there's not enough growing degree hours or days, whatever you want to call them. So yeah, it's just one of those deals where, like I mentioned, it's just, one of the things I want to try out, just so I won't be spending so much in heat and in propane early on. And if the tomatoes still come in production at the middle of May, I will be happy with that. And one thing I realize is the trend is, early tomatoes are decent flavored, but until you don't get into June and July, the flavored tomatoes isn't super great. In May, they're still kind of mushy. Their flavor's okay. But once you get into June and July, that's when the customers start wanting, and you get the hot temperatures, those hot days, and the customers really want those farm fresh tomatoes. And that's when we really start focusing on farmers markets, is in June and July and part of August. So that's when we sell the most tomatoes here on our farm. That's some of the things that I'm planning on doing next year. It doesn't seem too complicated, but hopefully we'll keep to that and not change anything. You guys know how I am. I do things on the spur of the moment, and a lot of times it's good, but sometimes it kind of kicks you in the butt. But yeah, with tomatoes, we're definitely going to stick to those two varieties, stake them up nicely, and just keep them going. I'm figuring out certain things, and I'm learning over the years. This will be my 5th year growing tomatoes. So the older I get, the more and more you learn, and the more you realize that you should and shouldn't do certain things. So just one of those deals where I'm excited for the future to see how the tomatoes turn out in 2022. 2021 was probably one of our best years growing tomatoes. So we realized that, you know what, we're going to just keep on doing what we've been doing. Alrighty, y'all, so this is going to be it for today. Just kind of wanted to share with you guys what we learned, what we're going to do in the future with tomatoes. And we are in plan of getting another high tunnel. So we're going to have 4 here on our farm, plus Val's going to have 2 on his place. So a total of 6 tunnels, and I think we're going to cap out at that number for now. And in the future, if something happens and we need to get more high tunnels, we will. But yeah, like I mentioned, there's other crops that I want to be planting too. I tried strawberries. I wasn't a big fan of it. Definitely red raspberries, definitely up there with trying in high tunnel as well. So we'll see. Might do some figs. We'll see. Just all kinds of ideas and plans. But just want to hop on here real quick and let you guys know. So that's going to be it for today. If you guys haven't already, go ahead and check out FarmerDreSupply.com. Like always, link will be down in the description box below. Don't forget to hit that notification icon so you guys can be notified whenever I do upload a video. Smash that like button, hit that subscribe button. I want to say thanks for watching up to this point. Y'all have a good day, and we will see you next time.